Hello, guys. Welcome back to Zodiac Trader. So, today in this episode, we are going to talk about Zelensky and what's going to happen to Ukraine and a little bit of my view on what's going to happen next because I am a macro trader. I bet on the unprecedented events. For people who don't really know about macro trading, is that we as macro traders we will use financial instruments to express our view. We come up with our own conclusion and we will place our bet accordingly. That means we often use varieties of different financial tools, and sometimes we would, bet on forex, and sometimes we will bet on commodities. So macro trading is the ultimate reason why I pay much attention to the global geopolitical events because I use my money, I use my investors' money, I use the real fund to express my view, and that is the reason why I spend a lot of time researching and also come up with my own conclusion. So, which is the reason why you should also pay attention to these geopolitical events as our time of era has dramatically changed compared to the previous 20 to 30 years. Now, this is an age of anti globalization. So, we are um, completely different. We are having these completely different market paradigm right now. So for those investors and traders who wish to extend he or their profitability, they should pay close attention of what's going to happen globally. So it's not that kind of market environment that you can just buy single stock like Nvidia and that kind of high tech stuff, and you could just long and close your computer and sleep and you will get like 10 folds 20 folds of market return. For that, that's not going to happen again, at least in Trump's administration, because we are seeing an increasing global conflict happening uh, on a global scale. So today, first we're going to talk about the Ukrainian war, and I'm going to talk about why Zelensky would ultimately take the peace deal, and why Zelensky is, from my point of view, is an incapable political leader who is betting on Ukrainian lives, um, and he acts like a giant baby, and he doesn't really care about what's going on with Ukraine or whatsoever. And second, I'm going to talk about the Ukrainian death toll. We're going to talk about the numbers. We're going to talk about how long the Ukrainian army could actually last. And last, we're going to talk about NATO. We're going to talk about the reasons why Ukrainian has suffered dearly uh, in this scenario. And of course, I am opposed with Russia. Russia is the aggressor of the war, and Putin should be blamed and should be sent to the justice. But however, we shall not forget the lesser evil, because not only we have to look at the entire event so we could from humanity point of view in the future could avoid such events from happening ever again. So first, let's talk about Zelensky's arguments with the Trump. Okay, as if you actually watch my if you actually read my article about on the Medium, I talked about how Zelensky is, acting like a child naively because he is, from my point of view, he is being, flattered, and he is being portrayed as a war hero. But he is being, like in mainstream media and leftists always think that Zelensky is a hero, but you have to know Ukraine fight as a whole, as a team. Zelensky doesn't go to the war zone. He is not the people who's carrying a gun, and like as a matter of fact, we should be thankful for all the soldiers and all the generals and military professionals in the front line instead of putting all the attention to Zelensky, because Zelensky is clearly spoiled. Okay, so by the time when he comes to the Oval Office, I like for me, I don't really have anything against the suit thing. So I don't view that, if you come to the Oval Office, you have to wear a suit. I personally don't view that as the issue. What I view that how, like for me, the worst thing that came from Zelensky's mouth was that Zelensky said that United States, the reason why United States is so complacent is because of the nice, beautiful ocean blocking Russia from invading United States of America. For me, that sounds like a threat to the U.S. people. For me, that sounds very ridiculous. Okay, so the reason of the Ukrainian war happened, the reason why Russia invade Ukraine is because Russia is threatened by the east advancements of NATO, right? So Russia says you shall not advance as NATO. You should now, as Ukraine, you should not join NATO. Like Vladimir Putin addressed this repeatedly over and over again. But every time the West ignores it. And that's the reason why, and also a lot of people in Ukraine actually support the idealism of democracy. I have nothing to against democracy, but sometimes democracy can be misleading because the West idealism ask or urge the Ukrainian people to support the idea of Ukraine join the NATO, which is the ultimate reason why this war has happened. And the West, however, the mainstream media and also like the all these people, they never mentioned about NATO thing. Okay, they said, oh, they blame everything on Russia, they blame everything on Trump. But the fact is, back in 2014, back when Crimea was being taken by Vladimir Putin, Democrats like Obama, he doesn't do anything about it. He didn't do anything to retreat or reclaim, like Crimea. So that was, for me, that was the start of the Ukrainian war. So some people may say Ukrainian war started after 2020. So it lasts, it starts somewhere, around like 2022. And now it's 3 years. 3 years has passed. But for me, the actual war started from 2014. But the mainstream media never blame anything on democracy, on the Democrats. But they are, instead of that, even despite the fact that Trump has been giving all these heavy weapons and javelin to Ukraine, Trump helps Ukrainian to equip better weapon to fight against Russia. Without the support of Trump, the President Trump, I don't think Ukraine could last this long, because I think a lot of people don't really have the idea how Democrats been trying to stop Ukrainian from having more deadly and more powerful weapons. They Democrat are the people who just kind of doing all these gimmicks behind the back. So they, during Biden's presidency, like America tries to stop the usage for the Ukraine to use the better weapon, which directly results to the failure of the three major war event, because uh, for Ukraine to win this war, Ukraine army should be able to use fighter jets and all these missiles and these sophisticated weapon system. But Biden administration have been repeatedly stopping them from getting it. And the only they like Democrat only unleash these kind of weapons until Trump has officially elected as the U.S. president. And after that, Democrats is like, we are afraid our like money little laundry scheme being exposed, and that's why they start giving Ukraine army more weapons and more equipments. So it is very, from my point of view, it's a true hypocrisy for Democrat or the West, this quote unquote Europe, to blame everything on Trump. For Trump wasn't Trump is not the he wasn't even in charge. He wasn't even the president of the United States up to like 2 months ago. And so I think that's unfair, extremely unfair for Mr. President. And not only that, I think Zelensky came and he said, that he knows why the Ukrainian war has been started because of the corruption in the Ukraine. Because for people who don't really know about the history, Ukraine used to be one of the major power source, the biggest or say the largest weaponry around the world. It used to have like nearly 2,000 deployable nuclear weapon. Okay, we're talking about nuclear warhead. But however, the remote is on Russians' hand. But Ukraine used to have a astonishing armory industry complex. Ukraine was capable of building a marine ship. We're talking about fighter jets. We're talking about sophisticated and powerful weapons. But because of the long term corruption of the Ukraine government, Ukraine lost all its ability to equip its military with plenty of weapons and equipments. So that's why Ukraine cannot produce any heavy weapons, tanks, fighter jets, and etc. because they hand it all out because they are incapable of handling their own finances. So for me, that's ridiculous. What have you been doing as Ukraine politicians for the past 20 years? What have you guys been doing? I mean, of course, you guys can blame everything on Putin, but I think it is also fair for Ukrainian people to blame this on their government, on their extremely corrupt government, because for the government kept selling all the weapons for money and they failed to establish a good, healthy, growing economy. That's why people are suffering of poverty, and that's why you are seeing a shrinking. You're seeing the death of Ukraine military industry. So that's why. That is the reason why Zelensky takes his private jet, not his private jet, but his plane, flying around, begging for more weapons, arms, and resources and money. So as the prime minister, as the president, right, you have to think to yourself, if like Ukraine could be, a little bit work a little harder, Ukraine could at least equip themselves with better weaponry, so they wouldn't have to go around and ask and begging for assistance and money aid, right? So that's why I'm talking about like there is a heavy corruption out of Ukraine. Go to any website, you type Ukraine GDP growth. You see, after 2014, there are almost like 10 years decade, and there are several years for Ukrainians GDP growth that's going below 0%. We're talking about constant negative GDP growth, and we're talking about very heavy corruption of Ukraine government, and which leads to the total war outbreak. Of course, Putin is the war criminal, but you have to blame yourself for being so defenseless, for being so weak, and now you're talking about betting on people's life, Ukrainians' innocent life on the battlefield. And then I'm going to talk about a little bit of, because Zelensky was being so cocky and he was being so arrogant and his ignorance of what they are truly facing. And that's why he came to the awful office that he think he actually have the edge against Donald Trump. He thinks that United States should support Ukraine, just like, just like what happened in the Democrat presidency. He's like because Zelensky is so complacent. He think that he deserved all this, but actually, in fact, it's not. Do you actually believe that Russian was going to cross the entire Pacific area just to hit America? That it's a ridiculous story. I don't think Vladimir Putin would be interested in doing that. Okay, so that would be a problem for like I think that's a total miscalculation from the Zelensky. So Zelensky has no idea of the status quo. He came to the Oval Office threatening U.S. people that he thinks he should have that the military guarantee. So what are you talking about? If I would be the Donald Trump president, I would probably do the same or even worse. I would kick him out of the White House because you are like United States of America is basically bailing Ukraine out, and United taxpayers already pay dozens of money, huge amount of taxpayers' money to they already help Ukraine for so much. And what do you want, Zelensky? Do you actually think that you'll be able to outnumbered Russian soldier and troops, you'll be able to push the line towards Moscow? I don't think you will like the number that I'm going to tell you next, because we are talking about in reality, Ukraine is facing with a very very difficult situation. So that's why Vance came out and he says, like Ukraine has a serious of manpower problem and issue, and the main power problem and issue is what the mainstream media and the West are trying to hide from its people, because Ukraine is running out of people fighting for wars. I mean, of course, you can go around ask for European for more money and weapons, but for manpower, it's gonna be difficult, right? You cannot revive people from the death, right? You're not Jesus. It's impossible to do that. So that's why manpower is the top priority issue when you're talking about keep fighting. If Zelensky wants to keep fighting his war, at least he should have a manpower, enough of manpower to at least to guarantee a constant, to at least you say you have enough manpower for the war. Otherwise, I mean, what's the point of continue this war anyway, right? Your entire nation would be jeopardized. That's what I'm talking about, and we're talking about. And now let's look at the Europe. Okay, we're talking about a hypocritical. Like we're talking about hypocrisy. Like we're talking about like all these European politicians being hypocrites, because look at UK. UK only gave around like two billion uh, pounds. I think something equivalent to that amount of money, and they are giving it as a loan, and which is collateralized out of Russians' assets, right? So for me, that's a very, very direct signal. Like UK is reluctant to help, despite the fact that they've been playing, like been acting nice. They stand on the stage like Macron, say very nice thing. They look very gentleman-ish, but they only give like 2 billion pounds. What a joke! What can you possibly achieve with that 2 billion pounds? You cannot even last for 1 week, right? If you want to buy some weapons, you want to buy some missiles, what can you buy with that 2 billions of fund? And we're talking about loan that you are supposed to pay back a loan, even though that is being backed by the Russian assets. Now, if you look at the balance sheet right now, currently, Ukraine is in debt of we're talking about like 100 at least 170 billion of these loans in there. So Ukraine is in debt. If we actually check about the GDP, the actual GDP per year on paper, it's around something around 150 billion per year for Ukraine for the GDP. But you have to calculate. They are because the Ukrainian economists are also adding the European aid and also the United States aid into these GDP growth. So you have to minus that aid. So you come up with a number of a GDP growth of, couple, maybe 80 or 90 billion US dollar per year. So we're talking about, if you want to expand further with your loan level, that's just say, if United States, even if United States and Europe is willing to lend you, I just say $200 billion. I just say $200 billion. How long do you expect you be able to pay that off? Right? The entire Ukrainian people should, to be starving and think about how to repay all these debt, which is crazy. So that's why I think European is now reluctant to give any financial aid to Ukraine. European people, they are not ready for the war, despite the fact that they try to act like that they care, but they are not, they don't care. So that's why Zelensky thinks that, okay, you America, if America is not supportive, I could always go to find Europe. Guess what? European politicians tell Zelensky in a very nice way. Okay, they acting very gentlemanish by saying you should go back to Trump because he offered you the mineral deal, right? That mineral deal is valuable. Okay, so that's why you see the UK Prime Minister Starmer says something like he sees value inside of Trump's mineral deal. So guess what now? Zelensky expressed that he is regret that he should be taking this deal. That's what I was always talking about. He has no other option. Okay, let's talk about the second issue. Let's talk about the death number. Okay, so right now, Zelensky keep bullshitting about that. Or there's only like 46,000 people are dead in the Ukrainian war, but actually, I think the number actually out. It's going to be a lot bigger than these number. So, because when he mentioned about these 46,000 uh, death toll, I think this number is only calculating what the death rate in 2024. And what about numbers in 2022, 2023? Right? You totally neglect those numbers. You didn't mention those numbers because you think that's going to be bad. Okay, so that's why Trump said probably there are nearly 700,000 Ukrainian soldiers are dead. Trump, he always bullshit a lot. Like he always said some big numbers, ridiculous number like 500 billion. He's not good at numbers. Let's just be honest. But I just say he's now the officially the President Trump, that he should have some of the intelligence from the White House. So that means the numbers should be a lot larger than these 46,000. Not most likely to be as ridiculous as 700,000 people dead, but I'm telling you the number is going to be a lot larger than these 46,000 Ukrainian soldiers. And there's an interview of Piers Morgan and Zelensky, okay, between them. So Zelensky, he admits openly that there are at least 39. We're talking about 390,000 cases of injury on the battlefield. Okay, so we're talking about a huge number here. And also, if we calculate by 2023, the entire population of Ukraine is approximately 37 million people. We're talking about 37 million people. Okay, and because of the war, because of the outbreak of the war, there are more than 6 million people leaving Ukraine. They are moving to the United States. They're moving to other European countries to avoid the war. So we are talking about at least like 30 million of total population that's capable of confronting Russia, which is a number which is around 150 million, right? Russia has at least 140 to 150 million people to be able to mobilize during the war. So what in the war, in a typical war, you need at least the maximum amount of troops and soldiers you can mobilize is basically you use the total population number and you times uh, somewhere around 8%. Okay, but at 8%, that's a theoretical number because think about a war. A war, you should have people, giving out, people who are driving trucks, people produce food, people uh, in the hospital taking care of the soldiers. You need different things. You can't send everyone to the battlefield. You need to at least ensure the society is functioning. So to keep the war going. So that 8% of number is the theoretical limits of the total mobilization number of possibly for the Ukraine. So that just say 30 million times 8% that you get. What number do you get? You get like around 2 million people. So out of that 2 million people, like there's 2.4 million people that you can mobilize as troops, and you have to calculate because in the Vietnam War, let's just take as example from Vietnam War. That was a brutal war. Okay, so the Vietnamese Communist Party mobilized 6.7% of their military troops. That's a huge number. So that just not talk insanely about like 6% or 7%. So I think a rational guess could be a 6%, not 8% out of these 30 million people. Let's just say 6%. So the ultimate troops, if you are sending the maximum troops, that would be around 1.8 million troops. That's not even 2 million because you have to take account of other, part of the society. You have to at least to make the society functionable. All right. So you have, of course, you will have some, foreign expat. You have some volunteers supporting your war, but well, I just face the reality that the foreign you cannot rely on the foreign volunteer soldiers because sometimes they are unwilling to fight for your war. They will go. Okay, so that 1.8 million troops would be the theoretical limit of Ukraine currently deployable to the battlefield. But now we're seeing more casualties. We're seeing December Commander in Chief Olesk Sander Sirisky said on December 30 that 427,000 casualties, okay, occurred in 2024 alone. So you have to deduct that number as well. There are several numbers to keep coming out. Some people get casualties, and some people, when they're injured, they cannot go back to the battlefield. That's the case. Okay, so even though Russia real losses may be higher or maybe a lot higher than Ukrainian, but given the fact that Russia has larger amount of population, and also currently Russia still control, except from Crimea, 4 states of territory of Ukraine. And right now, Ukrainian troops are unable to retreat or take back all these lost 4 states. That's the reality. That's the fact. So what do you expect if America stops sending you weapons, and you lack of the manpower to do so? How do you fight this war? That's unimaginable. Okay, so right now let's look at another terrifying fact. We're seeing even more people just they are being forced to the battlefield. Okay, uh, we're talking about like open admit because right now Ukraine has reduced the age bracket of the military mobilization. They are lowering that age to 18 to 24. You can do some research yourself. They openly admit that. Think about this. If you are Ukrainian leader, you think you're winning the war. And the next very important step for you is to rebuild the Ukrainian society. You are going to need all the manpower. You're gonna need all the manpower you can. We're talking about people from the age of 18 to 24. We're talking about young men. They are capable of hard working. They are the hope of Ukraine. But now these people they are sending to the battlefield. They are sending to the front line. How miserable is that? Zelensky is betting on young people's life and throwing his life to the on the front line. He is he is very evasive. He doesn't want to tell the fact. He doesn't want to admit that Ukraine is in short of manpower. Why are you recruiting these 18 to 24 young men? That's only because you are lacking of manpower. That's why you get so emotional when you come to the White House, the Oval Office. When Vance, the Vice President Vance, talked about how Ukraine is insufficient in the manpower, Zelensky jumped out and he's getting really emotional and he's getting a bit angry because of that. Why? Because deep down Zelensky knows the fact that Ukrainian falsify the dead number. And the entire West media, mainstream media, falsify that number. Which is the reason why people should see this. Okay, people should be clear of what the mainstream media has been lying. Okay, last, we're going to talk about how this could end and what this could cause in the future. So Zelensky is unwilling to accept mineral deal. From my point of view, mineral deal is a very generous offer, because for mine to be operative, it should take at least 10 to 20 years. And we're talking about rare earth. Rare earth is a crucial materials supply when it comes to nuclear energy sector. Nuclear energy is going to power up everything in the future. It's going to power up the AI industry. It's going to power all these very important, sophisticated weapon and all the batteries. We're talking about new energy vehicles, energy vehicles. We're talking about green energy. It's all based on rare earth deposit. But Ukraine currently is unable to develop this rare earth on itself. It's in serious debt. And not to mention 50%, around 50% of these rare earth minerals are currently controlled by Russia. So that means by signing up this mineral agreement, Trump will also secure its profits. Think about this. If United States were to resecure its profit, it has to send military assistance. It has to send military guarantee to guarantee its interest in Ukraine. It's something like skin in the game kind of contract, and it lasts for 10 to 20 years. So Trump, Mr. President Trump, is not asking you to give them the deposit of the mineral. They are not asking for the belonging, the rights of this mineral. They are asking for percentage. They are talking about like 50% of profit cut out of these mineral project. What's going to be like after 20 years of heavy investing, constant investing in Ukraine? After 20 years, the United States come along for these 50% of profit. If you are a businessman, are you willing to wait for 20 years to secure your 50% of profit? Are you like a freaking nut? Are you like a freaking crazy person? I don't think so. For me, that's a very generous offer. That means United States going to bail you out. They are going to invest. They are going to secure because your Ukrainian government is so corrupt to build their own rare earth industry. In fact, Ukraine government has built nothing industry during these 2 to 20 years. Okay, given by people's votes, what does Zelensky do? What do these politicians do all day? Oh, are we going to join Europe? Are we going to join NATO? That's essentially the only thing that they have been doing. They did not develop their, very valuable resources. They did not. They failed to develop their own military industry, even though they have solid, very solid background. We're talking about excellent Ukrainian engineers. We're talking about excellent, uh, like Ukrainian soldiers. So please stop saying that I am. If you stop saying if someone hates Zelensky, doesn't mean that he hates Ukraine. Do not do that. Okay, it doesn't make any fucking sense. So based on all that, Zelensky should seriously take the offer. He should send an apology to the United States people. He should send personal apology to Trump before it's too late. He should do that, and he should seriously pay attention to the rebuilding process of Ukraine. If you are having a temporary ceasefire, doesn't mean that you are submitted to Ukraine. Doesn't mean that you're submitted to Russia. That doesn't mean you have lost the war completely. Okay? That's only like a pulse of all these enduring war. Okay, so I think on all that, I think it's very crucial for Ukraine. If Zelensky wishes to further extend the war, Ukraine is going to face a population crisis. Men are going to be dead. We're talking about the majority of the men, adult, capable men in the society. The society will be ruined because of Zelensky. There will be no hope or whatsoever. There's only Zelensky's own ambition. And also the Democrats' dirty money laundering scheme. What are you supporting? Are you supporting like these war cartels making billions out of Ukrainian innocent lives? Or you still want to reserve some of the men so they don't have to go to the battlefield? You can rebuild a stronger Ukraine in a longer term. And one day when you're strong enough, you fight back. That would be a significant better option from my point of view. Okay, so today I talked about my view on Ukraine, and I critically analyze everything inside the Ukrainian war. So if you like the content, please share, subscribe, and like. And if you have anything to say, feel free to leave a comment, and we will interact right there. So thank you guys. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.